The administration of this college that has approved and encouraged these proceedings, the many teachers and staff that have worked hard to make them possible, the student leaders who help plan today's sessions and are busy right now making sure everything runs smoothly, and finally our visiting scholars and collaborators from the University of Michigan Dearborn. Again, I would like to thank you for being here today, for your willingness to learn more about what many people see as the most serious problem humankind has ever faced. Although you have much to be thankful for, your youth, your energy, the many opportunities that this country affords, your future will not be easy. It will not be unencumbered. It will not be smooth. And it will not look or feel like the same world your parents and grandparents inherited. Our climate, which has been subject to so much debate the past few decades, has not waited for us to resolve our differences. The climate has no patience. It has continued to warm at an unprecedented rate, altering the stability that we have relied upon and perhaps taken for granted. While we have always had hot days, bad storms, unseasonable weather, what we are seeing today is dramatically different. July of this year, for example, was the warmest month the world has experienced since record keeping began more than a century ago. All summer, in fact, wildfires raged across millions of acres in the Arctic. A massive ice melt in Greenland sent 197 billion tons of water pouring into the Atlantic Ocean, raising sea levels. Record-breaking temperatures around the world were commonplace, as they were last summer in 2018, when Phoenix, Arizona, for instance, had 128 days at or above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. For those taking notes, that was last summer in Phoenix, 128 days at or above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. As you might imagine, Phoenix children stay indoors most of the summer. It's not good, one mother said. They play too many video games. Except when it rains. Elsewhere, she said, people go inside when it rains. Here, we go outside. Some parents in Phoenix have to drive 30 minutes or more to find a covered playground. Why a covered playground? Because the rubber and metal of unshaded playgrounds can reach 170 degrees. During the hot days of summer, you cannot walk barefoot on the grass, or even walk your pets. Well, that's Arizona, you might say. What do you expect? So let's look a little to the north. Beginning on July 4th of this year and lasting for many days, temperatures across Alaska were 20 to 3 degrees above average, and not surprisingly broke many records. In Anchorage, Alaska, the airport reached an astounding 90 degrees Fahrenheit, breaking the previous record by 5 degrees. In Europe, at the same time, from the Czech Republic to Switzerland to Spain, new heat records tested each country's civil defenses. Schools were closed. Villages were evacuated. Soldiers battled wildfires. And social workers raced to the homes of older people to prevent them from dying. One town in France recorded a high of 115 degrees, the hottest temperature ever recorded in France. And this was not just one isolated summer. It is a trend. In the last 500 years, the hottest summers in Europe have all come in the last 17 years. Overall, the climate is now warming. You read different estimates about this, but anywhere from 10 to 100 times faster than it has in the last 65 million years. Today, temperatures on average are 1.8 degrees warmer than they were at the start of the Industrial Revolution. Why does that matter? Well, the last time it was 4 degrees warmer on average than today's temperatures, there were palm trees growing in the Arctic. What's even more shocking and dismaying about this warming is that in the last 30 years, while we've all been debating this issue, we have added more carbon to the atmosphere than in all the previous years since the Industrial Revolution. That is, during the lifetimes of most of the adults in this room. Well, perhaps we can all breathe a sigh of relief. At least we live in Michigan. Well, not so fast. A 2015 report put together by the state of Michigan researchers cited 5 health dangers for Michigan residents as a result of climate change. Respiratory diseases. Projected conditions favor increased air pollution and worsening respiratory disease. An earlier and longer growing season for plants could increase pollen levels, which in turn could worsen allergies and asthma. Heart-related illnesses. Heat waves featuring high temperatures, high humidity, and stagnant air masses could become more common and may lead to increased levels of heat-related illnesses and death. Waterborne diseases. Across the upper Midwest, extreme precipitation events have become more intense and more frequent. In coming decades, intense precipitation events and flooding are projected to stay the same or increase. Runoff from sewage and septic systems will remain a problem, potentially increasing the risk of waterborne diseases. And we have our vector-borne diseases. Projections point to warmer winters, earlier springs, and warmer summers. Conditions suitable for mosquito-borne diseases such as West Nile virus and the tick-carried diseases such as Lyme disease. I could go on. Have a little mercy on you here. But this we know for sure. If emissions continue to rise, more than half the planet will consistently see monthly temperature records broken. So here's what we're going to do today. After a short film, which I will tell you about in a minute, Linda Brandt and Craig Donahue will discuss the science of climate change. I'm just telling you right now what the facts are. You can stick your head out the window and see that for yourself. They're going to explain the why of it. Then Emily Luxon from UMD will speak about the effectiveness of political activism. And she will introduce a short film about the origin and accomplishments, the impressive accomplishments of this country's Sunrise Movement. After this morning's presentations, we have reserved time for you to ask questions or comment on what you've heard. Around noon, we'll go up to the breakout sessions. Your program will indicate a room that you should go to, so we don't have too much overflow in one room and not enough people in another room. The ABC rooms are straight down the narrow hall as you go out. The Berry Amphitheater is to your right. Around noon, around 12:30, we'll meet back here and just hear from the participants, the spokespeople, what they discussed at their sessions, any conclusions they've come to, any actions or further events they might have planned or are considering. And then there'll be a ceremonial tree planting. I mean, it's an actual tree planting too, but we call it a ceremonial tree planting because we hope it's just the first of many more trees to be planted on this campus. So after these morning discussions have concluded, we will gather in the lobby and proceed to the site of the tree planting. Now let me introduce today's first video, which showcases a TED Talk. Seems to be a lot of TED Talks these days. Have you given yours yet? The world is waiting. Well, this is a good TED Talk, a short one, but a good one. Given by a young Swedish girl named Greta Thunberg. And this is a very interesting story. Exactly 13 months ago, on August 20th, 2018, Greta Thunberg, a Swedish high school student, a mere 9th grader, decided that enough was enough. And that she was going to go on strike from school every day until the Swedish general election on September 9th. It had been Sweden's hottest summer in 262 years. And it was time, she thought, to do something about it. As Greta explains it in this video, a few years prior, one of her grade school teachers presented to her class a unit. Teachers are good at presenting units, right? A grade school unit on environmental problems, including climate change. She was shocked. She was dumbfounded. If climate change is real, this 8-year-old girl thought, if we are actually on our way to engineering a world that is barely habitable, if we are already seeing these impacts today, why is nobody talking about it? Why is it not on television, in the newspapers? Every day, all the time. Good questions, those. So after an extremely rough period in her life, which she explains in the video, she decided that she could do something. She made a sign simply stating, "School Strike for Climate," and headed to the Capitol building in Stockholm, where she stood every weekday holding her sign. After the Swedish elections on September 9th, Greta continued to strike every Friday, quickly gaining national, then international attention. In short order, in very short order, she inspired school students from across the globe to join in these school strikes for climate. By December of last year, a mere 4 months after she began her one-woman strike, more than 20,000 students held similar strikes in at least 270 cities. It didn't stop there. Worldwide climate strikes in March and May of this year followed, and today's climate strikes and forums across the world are the third and largest of them all. Keep this in mind. From the day that Greta Thunberg sat alone in front of the Swedish parliament with her school strike for climate sign until the present, this spirit of protest has spread over the world. In a mere 13 months, Greta has spoken at the United Nations, spoken before the European Union, been on the cover of Time magazine, and has even been nominated for a Nobel Prize. This is what a 15 and now 16-year-old girl can do in just 13 months. Don't ever question your power and influence. Your voice is crucial. One more thing I should add. This week, Greta visited our fair country in Washington, D.C., where she spoke before Congress in a little side visit, did a fist bump with former President Obama, a little chat with him, and said this to the Senate subcommittee that interviewed her. Please save your praise. We don't want it. Don't invite us here to just tell us how inspiring we are without actually doing anything about it, because it doesn't lead to anything. If you want advice for what you should do, invite scientists. Ask scientists for their expertise. We don't want to be heard. We want the science to be heard. In this video today, in a speech given last year, you will see, I think, that same fiery spirit.
Something humans had created by our way of living. I was told to turn off the lights to save energy and to recycle paper to save resources. I remember thinking that it was very strange that humans, who are an animal species among others, could be capable of changing the Earth's climate. Because if we were, and if it was really happening, we wouldn't be talking about anything else. As soon as you turn on the TV, everything would be about that. Headlines, radio, newspapers. You would never read or hear about anything else. As if there was a world war going on. nobody talked about it. If burning fossil fuels was so bad that it threatened our very existence, how could we just continue like before? Why were there no restrictions? Why wasn't it made illegal? To me, that did not add up. It was too unreal. So when I was 11, I became ill. I fell into depression. I stopped talking, and I stopped eating. In 2 months, I lost about 10 kilos of weight. Later on, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, OCD, and selective mutism. That basically means I only speak when I think it's necessary. And that was one of those moments. For those of us who are on the spectrum, almost everything is black or white. We aren't very good at lying, and we usually don't enjoy participating in the social game that the rest of you seem so fond of. I think in many ways that we autistic are the normal ones, and the rest of the people are pretty strange. Especially when it comes to the sustainability crisis, where everyone keeps saying that climate change is an existential threat and the most important issue of all, and yet they just carry on like before. I don't understand that, because if the emissions have to stop, then we must stop the emissions. To me, that is black or white. There are no grey areas when it comes to survival. Either we monetize civilization or we don't. We have to change. Rich countries like Sweden need to start reducing emissions by at least 15% every year. And that is so that we can stay below a 2-degree warming target. Yet, as the IPCC have recently demonstrated, instead for 1.5 degrees Celsius will significantly reduce the climate impacts. We can only imagine what that means for reducing emissions. You would think the media and every one of our leaders would be talking about nothing else, but they never even mention it. Nor does anyone ever mention the greenhouse gases already locked in the system, nor that air pollution is hiding a warming, so that when we stop burning fossil fuels, we already have an extra level of warming, perhaps as high as 0.5 to 1.1 degrees Celsius. Furthermore, does hardly anyone speak about the fact that we are in the midst of the 6th mass extinction, with up to 200 species going extinct every single day. That the extinction rate is today between 1,000 and 10,000 times higher than what is seen as normal. Nor does hardly anyone ever speak about the aspect of equity or climate justice, clearly stated everywhere in the Paris Agreement, which is absolutely necessary to make it work on a global scale. That means that rich countries need to get down to 0 emissions within 6 to 12 years, with today's emission speed. And that is so that people in poorer countries can have a chance to heighten their standard of living by building some of the infrastructure that we have already built, such as roads, schools, hospitals, clean drinking water, electricity, and so on. Because how can we expect countries like India or Nigeria to care about the climate crisis if we, who already have everything, don't care even a second about it or our actual commitments to the Paris Agreement? So, why are we not reducing our emissions? Why are they in fact still increasing? Are we knowingly causing a mass extinction? Are we evil? No, of course not. People keep doing what they do because the vast majority doesn't have a clue about the actual consequences of our everyday life. And they don't know the rapid changes required. We all think we know, and we all think everybody knows, but we don't. Because how could flooded cities, tens of thousands of dead people, and whole nations leveled to piles of torn down buildings. You would see some restrictions, but no. And no one talks about it. There are no emergency meetings, no headlines, no breaking news. No one is acting as if we were in crisis. Even most climate scientists or green politicians keep on flying around the world, eating meat and dairy. If I live to be 100, I will be alive in the year 2103. When you think about the future today, you don't think beyond the year 2050. By then, I will, in the best case, not even have lived half of my life. What happens next? The year 2078, I will celebrate my 75th birthday. If I have children or grandchildren, maybe they will spend that day with me. Maybe they will ask me about you, the people who were around back in 2018. Maybe they will ask why you didn't do anything while there still was time to act. What we do or don't do right now will affect my entire life and the lives of my children and grandchildren. What we do or don't do right now, me and my generation can't undo in the future. So when school started in August this year, I decided this was enough. I sat myself down on the ground outside the Swedish Parliament. I school strike for the climate. Some people say that I should be in school instead. Some people say that I should study to become a climate scientist so that I can solve the climate crisis. But the climate crisis has already been solved. We already have all the facts and solutions. All we have to do is to wake up and change. And why should I be studying for a future that soon will be no more, when no one is doing anything whatsoever to save their future? And what is the point of learning facts in the school system, when the most important facts given by the fine science of that same school system clearly means nothing to our politicians and our society? Some people say that Sweden is just a small country and that it doesn't matter what we do. But I think that if a few children can get headlines all over the world just by not going to school for a few weeks, imagine what we could all do together if we wanted to. Now we're almost at the end of my talk. And this is where people usually start talking about hope. Solar panels, wind power, circular economy, and so on. But I'm not going to do that. We've had 30 years of pep talking and selling positive ideas. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't work. Because if it would have, the emissions would have gone down by now. They haven't. And yes, we do need hope. Of course we do. But the one thing we need more than hope is action. Once we start to act, hope is everywhere. So instead of looking for hope, look for action. Then, and only then, hope will come. Today, we use 100 million barrels of oil every single day. There are no politics to change that. There are no rules to keep that oil in the ground. So we can't save the world by playing by the rules. Because the rules have to be changed. Everything needs to change. And it has to start today. Thank you.
proud to claim my Swedish heritage that I got from my mother. So welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Hopefully you will find some inspiration. Hopefully you'll learn something. And then hopefully you will take action. So I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer, Sally Sadsack. Maybe I'd like to sound like Hannah Hopeful. So let me start out with the good news. We do still have time to change human behavior and human values and develop technology that can sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. But it does require sacrifice. Sacrifice maybe on the order of sacrifices that people made in World War II, for example. We need to spend money to develop technologies. The bad news is, if we don't do this soon, we're going to be fighting the laws of physics and the laws of chemistry. And as a lot of you physics and chemistry students know, in addition to water, physics always wins. We can't fight the laws of physics once we cross that tipping point. So what do you say to the doubters? Oh, I don't believe that humans have anything to do with climate change. I think it's just one of those natural cycles. The facts boil down to this. Carbon dioxide, methane, and others are greenhouse gases. They absorb heat, infrared radiation, and re-radiate it into the atmosphere, into the earth. In a simple manner, it's like a blanket. So you were kind of chilly last night, so you'll put a blanket on. That's the reason life can be on Earth, because those greenhouse gases keep the Earth warm enough. What happens when you put on 2 blankets? You get a little too warm. What happens when you put on 3 blankets? You're just downright too hot. Similar to that. We know then, as carbon dioxide increases, temperature increases. So are humans in part the cause? I have 2 cups here, right? This one has 1 pencil in it, the pink one. The white one has 6 pencils in it. What happens when I take a pencil from the white cup and put it in a pink cup? Where's the number going up? In the pink cup. Where's it going down? In the white cup. I take another one. What's happening to the pink cup? The number's going up. What's happening to the white cup? The number's going down, and I keep doing it. What if these are carbon dioxide? What if that's carbon? What if this is fossil fuels? And this is the atmosphere. Where is the number of carbon atoms going down? In the fossil fuels. Where's it going up? In the atmosphere. And who's doing it? I am. Right. We are. How can you doubt that? So are humans at least in part the cause? You can see up here, carbon dioxide put into the atmosphere through respiration on Earth. 60 gigatons per year. That doesn't mean anything. This is going to be relative. Deforestation, that's due to us. 1.5 gigatons per year. Burning of fossil fuels, about 6 gigatons per year. So going into the atmosphere through natural sources as well as human, about 67.5 gigatons per year. What's coming out of the atmosphere? Photosynthesis takes about 61 gigatons out of the atmosphere. Reforestation efforts by humans puts about 0.5 back in. So we're taking out 61.5 gigatons. So we are putting about 10% more into the atmosphere than is coming out per year. Can that be a good thing? So the basic facts and the evidence are not in question. It's like people trying to say 1 plus 1 does not equal 2. I'm sorry, 1 plus 1 equals 2, it does not equal 3. Humans are putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere at an unprecedented rate, and that causes global warming. Only the degree to which humans are doing it might even be a subject of further research. So what do we do with those facts? What people often do, I think, is conflate the science with the policy. If they don't like the idea of a carbon tax, then they say, well, so I don't think humans are doing it. No, wait a minute. We've got the facts of science over here. What we do with those facts can be debated. That's policy. That's how you develop your moral values. That's what we do with this information. It's a little bit like abortion. Scientists can tell us when the fetal heartbeat starts, right? Scientists can tell us when that fetus has a fighting chance of living outside the mother. What you do with those facts can be debated. So will the earth change back? Oh, sure. Hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years. So a little bit of history. In 1824, Joseph Fourier deduced the atmosphere is like a box with a glass lid. And the greenhouse effect eventually took hold. Svante Arrhenius, a Swedish scientist, stated in 1896 that fossil fuel combustion might eventually result in enhanced global warming. He proposed that there is a relationship between atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration and temperature. We've known this for a long time, right? So this graph shows you the correlation between carbon dioxide concentrations and global temperatures. So the red is temperature relative to today, going back to 400,000 years before the present. And the blue is the carbon dioxide concentration. You can see a tight correlation there. Where are we today? Well, on this graph from a few years ago, we're up here at 400 parts per million. So this past May, carbon dioxide concentration passed 415 parts per million. And scientists long ago deduced that 350 parts per million was safe. 200 years ago, it was 275 parts per million. So at this rate, we're on our way to about 700 parts per million. 2 or 3 million years ago, the levels were this high. And you know what happened? The oceans rose tens of meters. You have to realize when oceans rise, if they rise, let's say, a meter, that's a lot inland. More than a meter inland, right? It moves a lot further than that, thus the flooding that we know about. We know that a 2 degrees centigrade or 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit increase will spell disaster. We increased 1.1 degrees centigrade since 1750 or so. We've already increased 1.1 degrees centigrade. So what about aerosols? What about clouds? People think that some of the pollution we put into the atmosphere will actually reflect some of the sunlight. So if we get less sunlight coming in, we put more water vapor into the air, we have more clouds, less sunlight.